My name is Brett Fairbairn, and this short video about the cooperative principles is available for your use under a Creative Commons license that allows you to share it freely as long as you attribute it to its source, the Centre for the Study of Cooperatives at the University of Saskatchewan. Cooperators around the world talk about the cooperative principles. But what are the cooperative principles? Well, they're contained in a document called the Statement on the Cooperative Identity that was passed by the International Co-operative Alliance in 1995. That was by no means the first time that cooperatives had talked about their guiding principles. But in fact, the document is called the Statement on the Cooperative Identity, and the cooperative principles are only one part of it. They reflect a long-standing set of discussions among cooperatives, a body of thought that goes back almost 200 years. The very first time, to my knowledge, that cooperatives started talking about the cooperative principles was in 1832 at the London Cooperative Congress. Later on, after the success of the famous Rochdale Cooperative in England, cooperators started wondering what was it that made that cooperative successful. And in about 1860, the Rochdale Pioneers, the Society of Equitable Pioneers, the Rochdale Cooperative, set down their ideas about what they thought made their cooperative work. The next time cooperators talked about principles was in the 1890s, around the time that the International Cooperative Alliance was formed. In 1937, they made a commission to update and refresh and articulate a new list of cooperative principles. In 1966, another commission, and then in 1995, the committee that studied and reported and that produced the current set of principles. So two things that I'd say about these principles. One is that they change over time. They're not carved in stone. They're adapted to each generation's needs. Almost every 30 years, the cooperatives have re-articulated and redefined their principles. But although the documents change, the ideas behind these principles are based on a rich discourse and debate about what cooperatives are and what they mean. And those ideas remain stable over very long periods of time. So if you want to understand the principles, they're very accessible. It's a brief document, but every word that's contained in the Statement on the Cooperative Identity refers to debates and bodies of thought that have gone back through generations of cooperative discussions. So the Statement on the Cooperative Identity actually has three parts. The principles are only one of them, and I want to say a word about each of those parts. I would say most importantly, the statement begins with a statement on the definition of a cooperative. And it's a statement that is contained in a single sentence, but there's a whole lot packed into that sentence. So it says that a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. You can kind of tell from a sentence like that that it was written by a committee. But the ideas in that are critical ideas to cooperatives. So there's several things embedded in there that are foundational for the governance of cooperative businesses. First of all, two of the most important nouns in that sentence are association and enterprise. So loosely speaking, a cooperative is an association of people who operate an enterprise for their own use. Because of that, people who study cooperatives, people who lead them, will sometimes talk about the association-enterprise duality. A co-op is both things at once. It's an association of people who operate a business enterprise. And the cooperative needs to be healthy, needs to be successful in both those respects. So two in one, both at once, association and enterprise duality. But something else that's embedded in that definition is the idea that people operate a cooperative to meet their needs. So the co-op is focused on serving the needs of the members, and that's absolutely fundamental to the definition and the idea of what a cooperative is about. So that idea that it's focused on the needs of the members and that the members own it creates what's called the identity principle, the idea that the users of a cooperative are also the owners of the business. That distinguishes co-ops from not-for-profits, from public sector organizations, from for-profit corporations. The owners are also the users. In a worker co-op, it would be the employees who own the co-op. In a farmer's co-op, it's the farmer producers who own it. In a consumer co-op, it's the consumers, the purchasers who own the cooperative. So when people talk about the identity principle in a cooperative, they're talking about that tight linkage between the business of the cooperative and serving the needs of the members. Those things fundamentally define what cooperatives are about and really create the principles of cooperative governance. Now, they are ideal statements, so that's one thing to be made about this definition. Real-life organizations more or less satisfy this definition. So there's very few organizations where 100% of the users are members and where 100% of the members are users. You can kind of think of it as a spectrum, that the more the circle of users coincides with the circle of owners, the more of a cooperative the organization is. One of the other interesting things about this definition is that it's not based at all on how a cooperative is incorporated. It doesn't say that a co-op is something incorporated under cooperative legislation. It doesn't say that a co-op is something that a government recognizes as a co-op. The definition of a co-op is based on the relationship with the members. That has some interesting implications. It means there are organizations out there that are cooperatives where the people in them probably don't even realize they're cooperatives. There are also organizations out there that have the word cooperative in their names, but they don't completely or fully satisfy the definition. So it's a really interesting thing how cooperators have put this definition together over the years. So the statement on the cooperative identity says that cooperatives are based on the values of self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity, and solidarity. All cooperatives, by definition, live those values and put them into practice. And the ICA statement also says that cooperators believe in a set of ethical values that include honesty, openness, social responsibility, and caring for others. So those values guide all the organizations that satisfy the definition of a cooperative. Now, what about the principles? Well, the statement then goes on to a list of 7 principles, but interestingly, the statement on the cooperative identity refers to those principles as the guidelines by which cooperatives put their principles into practice. So if we look at the ICA statement on the cooperative identity, I would argue the very most important parts of it are the definition of a cooperative and the values that guide all cooperatives. The principles are guidelines on how many cooperatives, most cooperatives, put their values into practice. Cooperators around the world know these principles. They refer to them. Open and voluntary membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training and information, cooperation among cooperatives, concern for community. So the respect that's given to this document is enormous. So the statement on the cooperative identity, the foundation of cooperative governance, is a document based on a tradition of almost 200 years of cooperative thought. It includes key ideas that shape the strategy and the governance of cooperatives, ideas like association-enterprise duality, like the identity of members and owners, and the values that cooperatives seek to put into practice. If there's one document, if there's a single page that you want to look at to know what cooperatives are about, this is the one.